Jacoby Tharp just shattered the world record in the 110-meter hurdles in a semifinal. Not the final, not the championship race, a qualifying round, and when he crossed the line, he genuinely believed he had run a mediocre race. His exact words on live ESPN television were these: "My last 3 hurdles were kind of trash. I figured I ran maybe 12.97, 12.98. Broke the collegiate record. Cool. More for tomorrow." Then he looked up at the scoreboard, and what came out of his mouth next brought an entire stadium to a standstill. But before we get there, you need to understand where this kid actually came from, because the world record is just the surface. The real story begins in a middle school gymnasium in Tennessee with a boy who got cut from the basketball team and had absolutely no idea what came next. Murfreesboro, Tennessee, big sports town, football on Friday nights, basketball through the winter. Every kid has a sport, and every kid has a plan. Jacoby Tharp's plan from the moment he could walk was basketball. It made complete sense. His mother, Amanda, played college basketball at Tennessee Martin. His father, Jimmy, played at the high school level. This family didn't just watch basketball, they lived it. The NBA was the ceiling, and Tharp was going to find out how close he could get. 7th grade, he tries out for the school basketball team. He gets cut, not injured, not told to come back next year, just cut. Not good enough, go find something else. Think about what that lands like at 12 years old. Basketball is the whole identity. Basketball is what the family built itself around. And the coach looks at you and says, no, Tharp needs to fill his afternoons with something. His middle school track coach pulls him aside and tells him to give hurdles a try. Tharp doesn't want to. His reason is the most honest thing you will ever hear from a future world record holder. He is scared of falling over one of the barriers, not scared of losing, not scared of the competition, scared of literally clipping a piece of metal and landing on his face in front of everyone watching. The coach tells him to just try. 1 year later, Jacoby Tharp wins the Tennessee Middle School Hurdle State Championship, 0 to state champion in 12 months. The kid who was terrified of tripping over a hurdle is now the best middle school hurdler in the entire state. But just when the path ahead starts to look like something real, everything stops. 2020. The pandemic. Tharp is heading into 9th grade with genuine momentum behind him. State champion, improving times, a future that is beginning to take shape. His entire season gets canceled. Not shortened, canceled. No races, no competition. No times on the board. 1 complete year of development erased before he ever got a chance to establish himself at the high school level. For a lot of young athletes, that kind of interruption is permanent. You lose the rhythm, you lose the confidence, and when you come back a year later, the gap to everyone who kept training feels impossible to close. Tharp uses the time to return to basketball. He makes the team as a sophomore, still splitting himself between 2 sports, still not fully surrendered to the track. When he comes back to hurdles, he has to rebuild everything from scratch. And the barriers are different now. High school competition runs over 39-inch hurdles. College runs over 42-inch hurdles. 3 inches doesn't sound significant until you're running at maximum velocity and your entire stride pattern is calibrated to one height, and you suddenly have to recalibrate everything. Most coaches look at a 6'4" teenager and assume the higher barriers are going to be a problem. The frame is too long, the clearance might be off, the rhythm won't transfer cleanly. One coach looks at Jacoby Tharp and reaches the exact opposite conclusion. Ken Harnan, Auburn University assistant coach, former Olympic hurdler, still the Zimbabwe national record holder in the 400-meter hurdles at 48.05 seconds. A man who has spent his entire career identifying raw talent and constructing something the world cannot look away from. When Tharp is being recruited out of high school, Auburn is one of several schools in the conversation, but something about Harnan makes the decision straightforward. Tharp says it himself later. Out of every school recruiting me, that is why I came here. I knew Coach Ken was going to get me where I needed to be. But the detail that makes this relationship genuine is what happens once Tharp signs. His mother Amanda sits down with Harnan and gives him direct permission to do whatever is necessary. Do what you have to do to get my kid to the next level, academically and as a person. A mother handing her son to a coach and trusting him completely. Not a recruiting pitch, a family decision. And Harnon takes the weight of it seriously. There's one detail from Tharp's recruitment that tells you everything about what kind of athlete he was before the track ever fully claimed him. His high school basketball highlights are part of the recruiting package Harnon receives. Videos of Tharp launching off the free throw line and throwing down dunks. That 6'4" frame leaving the floor off 1 foot and clearing the rim. Harnon watches those clips and immediately understands something the basketball coaches never did. Those legs were built for hurdles. That body was built to fly. 2024 World Under-20 Championships. Lima, Peru. Jacoby Tharp is 18 years old. He steps onto the global stage for the first time and wins gold. World champion at the under-20 level. In doing so, he shatters a Tennessee high school record that had stood untouched for 42 years. Back at Auburn, he becomes the first freshman to win an SEC outdoor title in any event since 2011. The hurdling world is now fully locked in. 2025 NCAA indoor title, NCAA outdoor title, U.S. Championships title, the best collegiate hurdler in America, and then Tokyo in September, the World Athletics Championships, his first senior global final. He finishes sixth in the world at 19 years old in his very first senior world championship. But here's the thing about sixth. Sixth is not a podium. Sixth doesn't break records. Sixth says you belong in the conversation. It doesn't say you are the conversation. Grant Holloway is the conversation. Olympic champion, multiple world titles, a personal best of 12.81 at the 2021 Olympic trials, the closest any human being had ever come to Aries Merritt's world record of 12.80, a mark sitting untouched since 2012. 14 years, the best hurdlers alive kept arriving at that record and kept falling just short. Holloway ran 12.81 and couldn't get there. Devin Allen ran 12.84 and couldn't get there. The record held. The record seemed like it might hold forever. The night before June 10th, 2026, Jacoby Tharp sits alone in his room and watches race footage. Merritt's 12.80 from Brussels, Holloway's 12.98 at NCAAs, Holloway's 12.81, personal best. He watches them over and over again, not to intimidate himself, but to convince himself he belongs in that same sentence. He thinks one thing before he goes to sleep. I can do that. He has absolutely no idea what is about to happen. His personal best heading into the NCAA championships is 13.01 seconds. Let me explain what the distance between 13.01 and 12.80 actually represents in this event, because it matters enormously. You are not simply running faster. You are clearing 10 barriers at full speed, while your stride pattern, your rhythm, your clearance height, and your acceleration all have to connect perfectly for less than 13 seconds straight. Every hundredth of a second you want to recover has to come from somewhere specific. Technique, reaction time, drive phase, clearance efficiency. You cannot just will yourself over hurdles faster. The body has to execute movements it has never performed before at a velocity it has never reached before. The gap between 13.01 and 12.80 is not 0.2 of a second. It is a completely different race. Nobody watching Tharp warm up on June 10th in Eugene is thinking about a world record. Nobody in the press box, nobody in the stands, nobody on any opposing coaching staff, not even Tharp. He is focused entirely on executing his race. His coach, Ken Harnon, says one word before the semifinal. Execute. That's it. No speech, no target time, no instruction to chase history. Just execute. Tharp walks to the blocks. The gun fires. Now, before I tell you what happens next, think about Grant Holloway for a moment, because Holloway has spent years carrying this event, defending it, winning everything there is to win, holding the Olympic gold and the world titles and the records. He has been the face of the 110-meter hurdles for half a decade. He has spoken openly about what this event means to him, about the next generation, about wanting to see what the human body can ultimately accomplish over these barriers. If Holloway had been standing at Hayward Field that day watching what was about to unfold, you already know what he would have said. This is what the event has been building toward. A 20-year-old from Tennessee who almost chose basketball, who was scared of falling over a hurdle, who lost a full year to a pandemic, coming out on the biggest collegiate stage in America and doing something no human being in history has ever done. That is exactly the kind of moment Holloway has been describing since he took ownership of this event, and then Jacoby Tharp delivers it. Drop it in the comments right now. The night before the biggest race of your life, do you watch the greatest performances ever run to ignite something in yourself? Or does seeing those times make the nerves worse? I genuinely need to know. June 10th, 2026, Hayward Field, Eugene, Oregon. The second semifinal of the men's 110-meter hurdles at the NCAA Outdoor Championships. Tharp explodes out of the blocks. Midway through the race, a thought surfaces. These hurdles are arriving fast. Too fast, maybe. His rhythm doesn't feel clean. His last 3 barriers feel loose and uncontrolled. He drives through to the line and crosses it, thinking one thing. I probably just ran about 12.97, maybe 12.98. Broke the collegiate record. Good. Save something for the final on Friday. He looks up at the scoreboard at the south end of Hayward Field. 12.76. Tharp stares at it, then it gets corrected. 12.75. The entire stadium goes completely silent. One journalist who has covered championship meets for 5 years says he has never witnessed a crowd respond that way. Silence first, then an eruption that shook the building. Let me put 12.75 in the context it deserves. Aries Merritt set the world record at 12.80 in Brussels in 2012. 14 years ago, the greatest hurdlers alive kept coming at that number and kept falling short. Holloway ran 12.81 and couldn't reach it. Allen ran 12.84 and couldn't reach it. Jacoby Tharp didn't just edge past the record, he bypassed the 12.9 seconds and the 12.8 seconds entirely and became the first human being in history to run the 110-meter hurdles in the 12.7 seconds. He also dismantled Holloway's collegiate record of 12.98 set in 2019 by 23/100ths of a second. 2 records, both broken in a semifinal, with imperfect technique against a field that was never supposed to push him anywhere near that territory. On ESPN, Tharp says the words everyone is still repeating. I swear I didn't mean to. I have more in my legs. I'm speechless. 12.75. The first person in history to run in the 12.7 seconds, and he thought his last 3 hurdles were trash. When reporters ask what he was thinking when that number appeared, his answer is pure Jacoby Tharp. A world record wasn't on his bingo card. The kid who got cut from 7th grade basketball, who was scared of tripping over a hurdle, who lost a year to a pandemic, the fastest hurdler in human history, and it wasn't even on his bingo card. He's 20 years old, he hasn't peaked, and he still has a final on Friday. Los Angeles 2028. Tharp will be 22 on home soil with a world record already to his name. If 12.75 came from a bad semifinal, what does a perfect Olympic final look like? Does he go under 12.70? Drop it below.